before we get to the bad advice, the decision from the MEC to rescind this decision, his critics are saying that it's a back down. How do you see it?
I believe he was actually smart in doing it when he realized the error that he made, rectified before it snowballed. The matter was already now in court for an urgent application, and had it not had it, it would have been successful, and then he would look like a bigger fool, I would assume, than what it seems now.
So he invoked a provision in the Municipal Systems Act, I understand, to justify these suspensions. Was it simply a misinterpretation, do you think, or was he given bad advice?
I think it's probably a combination of both, because in the same act there's also the code of conduct that each councillor has to have, including him. He has to have it. And amongst the discretions, the things that if you were to go against the things that are in the code of conduct, the very first one, that the municipal council may investigate and make a finding on any alleged breach. Investigate is the first thing that he should have done. Now, as he's saying that now, okay, now that they've now informed the chief whip of Tshwane and the chief whip of the ANC, if I'm not mistaken, now only now are they going to start investigation.
So that's where what you're really saying is he simply jumped the gun.
Yes.
Which does beg the question, I suppose the world over, that politicians sometimes let political expediency cloud legal judgment.
100%, because you cannot overlap the two. I think that's why it is important to recognize the separation of powers that the Constitution so strongly invokes within our own specific Constitution. The law is the law, the politics are the politics. Don't try and overlap the two. So he should have sought that legal counsel before he started the process of suspension.
So the councillors themselves now, predictably, are seeking legal advice.
Yes.
They say that their integrity has been impugned. How much strong recourse do you think they have?
Well, they actually do have a strong one, considering the fact that they're one day in the public eye. This was done in a public forum, the firing. So now their integrity has indeed been impaired. So they can prove those three elements, which are the very important elements of their civil suit that they're trying to look for. So they can be pretty successful. But what can be countered is the fact that the day after the announcement was made, they were reinstated, and that their dignity was not impaired to that extent that they can be probably reimbursed a certain huge amount for being, humiliated in public.
Is there, when we talk about impugning their integrity, we're talking about defamation?
Correct.
So how strong would that defamation case be?
If they can prove those three elements, you have to remember that you have to prove that your status in the public eye, what does it mean and how does it affect your income and how people view you? That already will be well established. They're well known in the country, their status in the public eye and all that. And then now that you've established all of that, how much of the damage was done to your personality and your integrity in the midst of all of this?
I think they might have a hard time, though, given the hurly-burly nature of politics anyway. I mean, if you can't, the old cliche, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen or get out the chamber in this particular case.
Correct, yeah. Hence, I'm saying the fact that it was rescinded right after they realized their mistake might work against them.
This is what Mr. Maile says, and I quote, "We are not changing all these things. We are strengthening our case. So why do we become embarrassed?" he asks at a news briefing. Has he painted himself legally into a corner now, or can he come out with a fresh way of doing this? One assumes that he's got to be now taking that legal advice, or better legal advice than he took in the first place.
If he's so convinced that they have such a strong case, the investigation that they're now doing should bring out better results, and maybe he'll be able to prove everything that he's said today. But if the investigation comes out and they have nothing, then he's put himself in a corner whereby now he really has to apologize, and on a public spectrum, because he's so, hard-staunched on the fact that they are not wrong. The councillors were in the wrong. So we have to wait and see what the investigation brings out.
Thank you very much for joining us. And Thabiseng Dubuzana from Dubuzana Attorneys. As always, we appreciate the crisp and incisive analysis.